Okay, so I think we got cut off, so we'll pick right back up. But in spite of everything that she did, in our lives, and the phenomenal role that she played as a mom, that's all she could be. Was a mom. She couldn't play the role of dad, and she couldn't play the role of father. She could only be a mom, and so there were just only by nature some things, that certain things that she could teach, and then there were just certain things that she just couldn't teach a young man. And even in teaching them, and there are many things that she did. It still sounds different when it comes from a father. It still sounds different when two men sit down together and they talk about the importance of being the man that you were destined to be. So that's a critical thing. You'll often hear, in African American families about the extended family. One of the things that's common are family reunions. They were huge growing up, and so it was a time for distant relatives to get together, and the elder kind of stakeholders in the family, so grandparents, great grandparents. That was an opportunity for them to also kind of pass down some traditions, to pass down, some stories about how they were raised, how times were different, how things changed, and and things that what's important and what's not important, and it gave you a different perspective, because what they also when you're sitting there around a lot of folks that you don't get the opportunity to really sit down and talk with on a regular basis, you get an idea of how your parents were raised, and how times were different. When I think about both my parents and and my grandparents, they were raised in the times where you had to drink from different water fountains, you had to attend different schools. The rights that we have today were not rights that rights and freedoms that we had back then. Back then, those were rights and freedoms that they fought for. And so, that has a huge impact on, how we grow to see life, how we grow to understand life. As many of my family members would often say, as the quote goes, if you don't understand your past, then you're doomed to repeat it. And so, family reunions, they're still big to this day. Every year, I remember when I would go to a family reunion, I'd see a family member I had never met in my life, but then my mom or my dad or an uncle or a cousin or something like that would come up. Oh yeah, that's so and so. You don't remember so and so? No, because I was 5. Right. And so, when I first met them, so there was always somebody new that I was meeting. Oh yeah, that's your first cousin, or that's your third cousin from a different family, but it was like, I'll take it. They're my cousin. I get it. They're my cousin. So I just go with it. So, but they were unique, but they were also, some good times, because again, you learn lessons from everybody. You learn lessons from, all different family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, cousin-in-laws, and whatnot. So that was also a great, opportunity to both teach and learn. The importance of influence, and I've already kind of talked about it. One of the things I was thinking about when I looked at my family growing up, take family dinners, for example. My mom, because she would come in after working, 2 or 3 jobs, and she would, fix dinner and put that together. There wasn't a whole lot of times that we sat down at the same table and ate dinner together. It's a lot of times the way it happened for us is, mom would go and fix dinner, and she would, tell us that dinner's ready, and we'd all go in there at different times and get our plate of food, and then we'd go back to whether it was our room or the living room, sit down and watch TV while we ate, something like that. So when I meet people today, and I go into people's homes, and and they invite me, for a family dinner or lunch or something to that effect, and they're sitting there and they're having this family mealtime. Like, wow, we typically only did that during the holidays. Is when we sat down and we ate together. We break bread together, and so that was. Now, is that the case for every African American family? Absolutely, obviously not, right? And so that's one thing. I will say, I'll give a caveat. Everybody's family dynamics are different, and it certainly, even though, I grew up on the south side of Nashville. Right next to the heart of, Edge Hill Projects. My buddy who grew up next door to me, inside their home, they experienced some different things, and they had some different family traditions. So it can differ, obviously, from family to family, but there are some things, some general concepts that are important. But I learned a lot from my family. I learned a lot about what I want. Should I have my own family someday? Should I go and raise kids? How I will raise them, how I will teach them. Many of the lessons that, when I was young and I thought I had it all figured out, and that my mom would try to teach me, but they may go in one ear and out the other because I thought I had it all figured out at 15 years old. Those are some lessons that are still with me today, right? So those are still some lessons that, as I see the importance of them, now in my adult life, there are things I want to pass forward. There are things that, I'd want to, to teach my family as well. So certainly family has a huge influence on myself as a person. The role of family members, one thing that, my mom was, she was common of saying, and, you hear this a lot, especially in African American families, it takes a village. It truly takes a village. Because my dad did not really adhere to his role and live up to, the expectations of a father, my brother and I, he's an older brother, so he's 3 years older than me. We had to grow up fast. We had to grow up earlier than we, necessarily wanted to, than my mom necessarily wanted us to. She tried to shield us from a lot. That's another thing that's common that you'll see in a lot of African American families. They try to protect their young. They try to protect their kids, protect their childhood. They want them, to be young as as long as possible, because once your childhood's gone, it's gone, and they hate to see kids grow up too fast because they know the real world's coming. They know that the world is coming where they're not going to be there to hold their son or daughter's hands, through things, and so they're going to be on their own and have to make good, responsible decisions, and live their life accordingly. So, I remember my mom would joke with me, and she would tell us, because it really wasn't a joke, but it didn't matter if it was the neighbor's neighbor, our uncle, a cousin, or aunt. If somebody had to discipline us for something, they had my mom's full permission. So when she said, son, it takes a village, absolutely. So if I went 4 houses down and they saw me doing something I shouldn't be doing, best believe mom was going to hear about it. Man, sometimes that'd be the worst, because one thing that mom didn't want to hear, one thing my mom would tell us, A, don't ever disrespect her in public, and B, don't ever disrespect that family name. And so, it was bad news for us as kids if my mom ever had to get a phone call from the school about, my behavior, or, my brother doing something, or my sister doing something. There's a lot of things you can do, but do not call Mama Gray at work because of a bad behavior that I'm displaying, and somebody's having to call on me. That's not going. Man, that brings back some memories, right? That's never going to go over well. So we had to grow up early, especially me and my brother, and we had to. But also we wanted to help, mom around the house. We also always wanted to get our mom to a place where she no longer had to do the things that she had to do. She spent a lifetime taking care of us, looking after us, providing for us, putting clothes on our back, roof over our heads, food on the table. And so we ultimately wanted to see our mom get to a place where she no longer had to worry about those things, where she no longer had to worry about caring for, her children, and that she could be confident, and that she set us up for success, and that she set us up for greatness. So, and she's in that place right now. So we're excited about that. All right. Let's see. In terms of, who comprises of the, family or whatnot, again, there might be 5 cousins, there might be 5,000 cousins. There's a lot when it comes to the extended family. The nuclear family, again, it's a lot of times it's mom, the immediate children, and but again, a lot of times dad's not in place. And so when you start getting to that extended family, wow, it can really grow. And a lot of that is cultural, and a lot of that is tradition. Because when you look at our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, they came from big families, where there were 7, 8, 9 kids, whatnot. And so when those kids got older, they wanted to have a big family because that's what they were used to. And then when those kids have kids, they want a big family. So it just continues to grow, in that nature. Let's see. When you're talking about rules, boundaries, some of the subsystems in African American families, I go back to those 2 cardinal rules, that my mom had for us. Don't ever disrespect her in public. Don't ever disrespect that family name. And I equate that a lot to, it's like this badge I wear on this uniform. Although physically, this badge is, significantly less in size than I am, this badge will always represent something bigger than me. That gray family name will always represent something bigger than me. So when I am out there, whether it's doing my job, making connections with folks, I'm doing that on the family name. And I might be representing my agency, I might be representing my university, but I'm also representing my family, And so, parents are just huge on that, and that's just about respect. That's purely about is about what that's about. It was not about them being famous or anything like that. It is just about respect those who have paved the way for you. Truly, that's what that is. In terms of power structures, it is. I don't know that you really see, mom was always the head. A lot of times mom was always the head of the household. Mom might not start a fight, but she's going to finish it, right? And there's that saying, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And then that was the deal, with Mama Gray. She didn't ask a ton of, from us when we were little, but some of the little things, when she comes home after a long day of working 2, maybe 3 jobs, and the dishes aren't done, or, the house isn't clean, or kept up with, something like that, that for her, that was kind of a, that was a slap in the face. I'm out here, I'm grinding, each and every day to help provide for you guys. And then when I come back home, you want to come home to, a peaceful home. You want to come home to a home that is clean, a home that is, well kept and well maintained. And so that was one of the things that she asked of us. But without question, mom's head of household. No questions asked. All right. And so this last one, and we may get cut off here, so we may have to break and then finish up this last video. And so, in fact, tell you what, we'll do that. We'll break here, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about this last one.